Hello, welcome to the Wargamer. I'm your host, Rob, and it's the Age of Sigmar Stat Center where I look at all of the event results from the weekend. We look through the list, we talk about the meta and what we think it might look like and all those other things, and you should come and, well, you should, hopefully, you've clicked on the video, so you should be watching it and having a good time. This week, we have got a ton of events. We have 294 players playing across 6 countries: England, Denmark, Slovenia, Canada, and the USA, which is super cool. We have loads of ongoing faction chats in the Discord that The Honest Wargamer has, which you can access via our Patreon. Please do sign up. It'll help support the show and the work that we do, but also there's some good chats where we talk about lists and other stuff, and it'll be really fun to see you in there. Anyway, let's get on with all of the events for this week, and I hope you enjoy the video. And one last thing, before we go, I want to thank Rob, who helps me do all the stats. I'm a different Rob. I'm this Rob, but there's another Rob, and he does all the stats, and he's the best. So shout out to him. He is great. The first event that we're going to look at today is the Lone Star Grand Tournament, being held in Texas. Texas, the big state of Texas, organized by Matt Taylor. It is our largest event this week at 95 players battling it out for the top spot over in Canada. It's being held here at the Sheraton Freedom and Democracy Hotel, which is pretty cool. And we have 2 5-0s. We have Kelpig of the Roll to Wound Club, and Thomas Burgett of the Weak and Decadent Club. Kel was playing Flesh Eater Courts, and Thomas was playing Skaven. So this is new Flesh Eater Courts. Flesh Eater Courts, Kel is running Hollowmorn as his sub-faction, 2 Abhorrent Archregents, a Marascroll Herald, an Abhorrent Gore Warden, a Grand Justice Goremain, a Crypt Ghast Courtier, 20 Crypt Ghouls, 2 units of 6 Crypt Horrors, a unit of 6 Morbeg Knights, and then 20 Royal Beast Flayers, and that Wizard Finder Vandal battalion coming back, which I think is quite interesting as well. So, what's the hot gossip here? Well, there's a couple of hot gossips. He's got 3 different hammers. 6 Morbeg Knights are insane. Don't forget Flesh Eater Courts. Flesh Eater Courts have got the ability to lose an entire unit, and that unit can come back from the dead, and then you can resurrect them to full strength. Pretty crazy. He's got the 20 Royal Beast Flayers. Royal Beast Flayers, I guess, is another hammer as well, so I guess technically it's 4. Little secret sauce about the Royal Beast Flayers is that they have models in them that are 3 wounds apiece, and you're able to return a Serf model. You're able to return those 3 wound models. So the first wounds you take are on the 3 wound models. There are 3 per 10. So that is going to be 18 wounds worth of models located in only 6 models out of the unit of 20. Then when you do 18 damage and kill, do 18 wounds worth of stuff, you're going to be able to bring all of them back, which if you've got enough points, which is pretty crazy. So that's Royal Beast Flayers. Then you've got Crypt Horrors that are just going to do massive, smashy damage. And you got a bunch of really good support characters. Marascroll Herald, the Gore Warden, the 2 Archregents as well. This is all still brand new. There's going to be loads of different builds for this. It's going to be very difficult to catch people. It's going to catch lots of people out due to the recursion. That's going to be something interesting. Yes, other armies do already exist and have good recursion. These do it in a slightly different way, a lot more powerful way. They have a very different tempo to other armies, and I think that's going to catch a lot of people out. Our other 5-0 list is Skaven. And this has got a Gracier, a Warlock Engineer, 3 Plague Priests, a Master Molder, and then 3 units of 6 Rat Ogres, 2 Warp Lightning Cannons, a Hell Pit Abomination, and then 2 units of Clan Rats in here as well. Now, this is quite interesting because we've seen this resurgence of Skaven specifically over the past few months. And I would say one of the reasons that this has always been a bit of a sleeper list using the Rat Ogres. I think if you talk to any Skaven players or long-time Skaven players, they'll tell you how good Rat Ogres actually are. They're a little bit random. So that's a bit of a problem. Their recursion is not guaranteed. So I think that's a factor as well. But if it does pop off and it swings well, then it's going to be very, very, very strong. Similar to, and they got cheaper as well. Similar to Warp Lightning Cannons, where they're a little bit more effective. They're a lot more reliable. The Warp Lightning Cannons, they're going to be able to punch through some pretty solid big armor. Hellpit's an amazing monster. But again, that random movement is a bit of an issue as well. And then the Plague Priest with the Great Diseases is going to be really effective. So just a really great list using very different stuff. And again, different to what we saw last week. We saw a load of Plague Sensor Bearers. We saw Doom Wheels and we saw Warp Lightning Cannons last week. Now we're looking at something different again, where we're seeing these Riot Ogres. So people really starting to explore that Skaven book 2 years in, and they're really popular at the minute. Looking at the 4-1s, it's interesting. The meta is shifting. It's an interesting little place on the 4-1s. We've got Jose Arando with Seraphon Fangs and Toe Tech. He's running Croak, and he's got himself Pontifex and Estra in there as well. So switching it up, doesn't want to be like the other girls at the party and play with the Command Core instead with Pontifex. Much preferred, love that. Also kind of love that Croak is a dead frog and Pontifex and Estra is kind of like a dead goddess. Like sort of like narratively it works as well. So if anyone ever says to Jose that it's not a narrative list, they're wrong. It's actually double narrative. Randall Brasher is running Ogre More Tribes. Again, kind of a Carson Whitlock special, but just moving on. Just loads of Ogre players now, just doing some really good stuff. Frostlorn Stonehorn, Slaughtermaster, Firebelly, 6 Gluttons, 2 units of 4 Iron Guts. Gorgon Moorpack is in there as well. He's bought the Iron Blaster. He's got 20 Noblars for screens. So some really interesting stuff. I think Ogres are in a great place right now. Monster Trucks, Iron Guts are actually seeing tons of play and doing really, really well. Actually seeing lots of different lists. Ogres in just a solid place at the moment. And unsurprising. Elijah Ramos also running Seraphon, Fangs of Toe Tech, so Croak Bomb. Brian Lofton running Cruel Boys, Grinning Blades. And I kind of asked this question when we were going through the list in detail. What does it take? What did it take to get us to Cruel Boys here, where we see him regularly now in that 4-1 category? And we got massive points reductions. We got sub-faction rules changes. We've had constant additional dirty tricks, loads of little different buffs and stuff. But we've got Gobsprak, Snatcher Boss on Sudraker Beast, Killer Boss on Great Gnashtooth, Swampcaller Shaman twice, then 40 Gut Rippers over 2 units of 20. 2 units of Hobgrot Slitters, and then 2 Beast Skewer Killbows, and then 6 Bolt Boys. And that's the interesting thing, because normally you'll see 2 6s of Bolt Boys, not the Beast Skewer Killbows. But I think really the Cruel Boys situation is you have 2 units of Gut Rippers, and Gut Rippers, if they get the buffs off on them, are going to do a lot of attacks and do a lot more wounds. Bolt Boys, similar. They can do a lot of shots and do a lot more wounds. And the same is also true for the Snatcher Boss on Sudraker Beast. Lots of damage potentially. So there is just a lot of output, but I think people have just regularly committed now to playing Cruel Boys, and it's going really well. So that's some great news. James Matthews with his Soulblight Gravelords Avangori Dynasty is an absolutely out there list. Shout out to James. Running Avangori, then he's got Nagash and the Vengorian Lord. Now, the important part about Vengorian Lord is obviously it's going to reduce down the AP or the rend of units around it. And in addition, -1 to wound aura as well. Nagash is Nagash, Hand of Dust, tons of spells, combat monster as well for 800 points and recursion. But it's the battle line with the 2 Terrorgeists that got me absolutely panicking right now. Absolutely panicking. Was not expecting that. Just going to yeet 4 monsters at you. So there's a lot of objective control, definitely. And some of those targets, like the Terrorgeist, you're going to focus on first, but then that means you're just going to be ignoring the Gash, which I think is great. 20 Skeletons for holding objectives and some Fellbats for popping around as well. Just a cool list. Super fun. So shout out to James Matthews. Carl Emery running Karajan Overlords. He's got himself the Quest of Soulsworn, along with 15 Arcanauts. Thunderers in a boat in a big ironclad. Bang, bang. Let's go. Marco Hernandez, Iron Jaws, Bloodtooths. Just literally very old school. Loads of Gore Grunters. Just loads of stuff. It's great. Just loads of Gore Grunters and a Maw Crusher. In 2024, feels like a crazy place to be living, to be honest. 1, 2, 3 units of Gore Grunters, another unit of 6, 10 Brutes in here as well, and then it's your classic Mega Boss on Maw Crusher. So a bit of a classic list just going 4-1 is so nice. Again, now this is super interesting, and he's in the chat right now. Nick Swope, absolutely changing hearts and minds with his Host of Slaanesh Godseeker list. That's right, you heard me. Godseekers, not Pretenders. Keeper of Secrets, that's the general. Sigvald Celeste, then a unit of 5 Seekers, 2 units of 10 Demonettes. The War Shrine, giving out 3d6 charges to some of the other characters in the list. 10 Slickblade Seekers, 5 Blissbarb Seekers as well. Now, he's in the chat and he's saying it's just his MVP was Celeste giving out the +1 to hit, +1 to wound aura, which is very difficult to manage. Very difficult to manage. But the fact he was able to do it is incredibly awesome. And also, because there's a lot of melee here, then he's going to potentially be able to generate depravity very fast, which normally you only in most Sinesh lists there was normally only one melee unit, so you weren't necessarily generating a lot of melee through euphoric killers, which I think is kind of interesting. So well done to him. Then we got Jonathan Shalesis with his Clune Spike Gits, Jaws of Mork. This is just 15 Boingrots, some characters, and a big unit of either Squig Herd or Bounders, one of the two. I think it was Squig Herd in there. So a bit of a classic. Jane McBride and Ethiopian with Futh 1. Now this is very, very fun. This is Keelan Thrallmaster, this is in Futh 1, Soul Render and Lotan. Now, when you see that character loadout, you think, okay, we're going to get a lot of Thralls. And you're right, there's 2 units of 20 Thralls and a unit of 20 Reavers, which is quite nice. But then backed up by a bunch of Alapexes. I think there are 6 in this list, which makes sense because of the sub-faction. So mixing the sub-faction, all Sharks list, and then adding another element to it, and then avoiding having the Slap King that you would normally see, the Achillean King in here, is very interesting. I think that's a very unique list and very fun to see. So I'd like to see more of that. Then you got David Rodriguez and Christopher Schelling, both with very different Stormcast Eternal lists in the 4-1. Christopher Schelling is running Annihilators and Night Valexa spam, and it just absolutely just dominating. It's such a great list. It's a list I've been playing for ages, and it's just really, really engaging for you as the player. However, it looks like he only lost his last game, so well done to him. That's great. David Rodriguez with his Astral Templars, slightly different, and kind of reminds me of what we would see closer to beginning of last year, maybe even a year and a half ago, where you've got Astral Templars and you've got Karazai, Lord Castellan, Knight Incanter, 2 units of Vanguard Hunters, unit of Libs, and then Dracothian Card Tempesters, Vanguard Raptors, and then 6 Praetors as well. So it's really Karazai being bodyguarded by the Praetors, I think, is the kind of interesting part, with the Tempesters doing the additional work in the list, and then the Hunters going and grabbing objectives. So it's starting to play a little bit like a Marathi list, like it did back in the day, but your Bow Hunters have been replaced with the Tempesters and the Vanguard Raptors, and they're sort of not your Bow Hunters, your Bow Snakes, and then really it's Karazai and the Praetor who are running around like Marathi, which I think is kind of a really interesting way to play the list. And then finally, I've missed that one. I'm so sorry. Carter Babs. I didn't even see that he ran Lumineth. Carter Babs ran Lumineth with Teclis, Light of Eltharion, Cathlar, Wardens, and 2 Unit Blade Riders, and 2 units of Dawn Riders. Okay. And Alarith, the Spirit of the Mountain. Okay, a classic. So it's Teclis, the Light of Eltharion, and Alarith. It's just 3 major threats. That's so good. Syrian White Light still OP as hell. Shout out to Carter Babs. Derek Hildebrand ran Ossiarch Bone Reapers Petrifex, where he had Catacross, Soul Mason, Soul Reaper, Death Riders, Stalkers, and the Mortis Guard. I like the MSU Stalkers. I think that's fun. And then finally, Paul Collar doing exactly what I wanted. Exactly what I wanted from Age of Sigmar, running Sylvaneth Heartwood. He's doing it. Alariel, Belthanos, Spirit of Durthu, 3 monsters kicking ass, a Branch Witch, 2 units of Tree Revenants, and a unit of Dryads, and then the Vengeful Skull Root, which we love. So congratulations to all these incredible people. Well done. I hope everyone had a wonderful time at the event. Texas seems like such an incredible scene. Love to get there one day. Hope you had a nice weekend. Our next event is the Rumble in the Rockies, taking place in Canada, with 44 players attending, being organised, lovely artwork as well, by Ian Margaret. Shout out to him and them, or them. I hope they're having a nice time. Fell over myself there, didn't I? Anyway, 44 players, and we have some really interesting... We have an interesting 5-0. Jared Brown with his Stormcast Eternals, and then Nathan DeBoer with his Blades of Khorne. Nathan's Blades of Khorne list is pretty standard. Reapers of Vengeance, Bloodthirster and Fetter Fury. He's got a Slaughter Priest, Scarbrand, Blood Secretor and Blood Master, and then Fleshhounds, Blood Warriors, a unit of 10. Bloodletters, Blood Reavers. Oh, a unit of 20 Bloodletters. That's pretty fun. Blood Reavers, and then some Furies as well. So it's, it's Scarbrand, turn off the wards thanks to Bloodthirster. It's 20 Bloodletters running around and chopping some stuff up. Pretty classic. The thing about Khorne, I probably should mention, is obviously they've got better since the most recent Battle Scroll update, where they've been given a free battle tactic, thanks to the a free battle tactic, which is really, really nice, which is good. So if anything, they're probably one of the best armies, if not the best army in the game right now. Interesting how they play into Flesh Eater Courts. Maybe they'll kill each other. Interesting kind of point. However, and shout out to Nathan for doing so well. However, shout out to Jared Brown for a really interesting Stormcast Eternals list. 2 Night Incanters, pretty spicy. Both with Blizzard as well. This is all in a Stormkeep for Hallowed Knights. Hallowed Knights means that he's got Gardas, which means you've got a 5-up ward save area of effect bubble landing from Gardas. So everything now has a 5-up ward save. That feels pretty nice on Stormcast Eternals. Turn them all into Nurgle. Then you got Ynastra. She's going to be pretty key because she's an okay fighting character, but importantly, she's got 4-up ward save as well, 3-up armor saves, so she's very tough to get rid of. So now you're getting a bit of a theme: high armor saves, good ward saves. You got 2 auto unbind spells, so you can shut down any egregious spells the enemies may have in the right situation. Ynastra is going to be able to return 1 Stormcast Eternals model with 3 wounds or less to each unit within range. Because of her ability, that's really effective. We'll talk about how that interacts in a moment. And then a Pontifex Ynastra who's going to be able to do long-range AoE damage thanks to the prayer that's going to do mortal wounds to enemy priests and wizards in the enemy line. So it means the enemy's going to have to be a little bit more aggressive. Then the Knight Zephyros in here, in here as well. 10 Vanquishers, 2 units of 5 Vindicators. Unit of 10 Vanquishers means they're going to be resin on a 5+. Everblaze Comet for some more AoE mortal wound damage at range. So you're kind of replacing what you would get from, the Bannermen that you would normally take, and you're just dropping it all down. And then you got 3 Praetors and 2 units of 6 Quest of Soulsworn. And that's pretty spicy because this Quest of Soulsworn are 3 wounds per model. So a unit of 6 is 18 wounds. They've got a 3-up armor save. They have a once per game ability to teleport. And because they're in this sub-faction, they're now going to have a 5-up ward save. So now you've got 18 wounds on a 3-up armor save, 5-up ward save, and each hero phase, you're going to be able to return 1 to the unit outside of rallies and stuff, thanks to Ynastra. So that's a really tanky unit that is going to just keep holding objectives. Oh, they also count as 3 per model on an objective. So if you've got 6 of them in a unit, you're going to be counting as 18 on an objective. So you can kind of outscore Stonehorns, which I think is super interesting. So really fun list being run by Jared. Really, really interesting. Very different, diverse. Making use of Gardas for that AoE mortal wound save. That AoE 5-up ward save, I think is really smart. Love this list, really cool. Let's look at the 4-1s. In our 4-1 section, we've got Nathan DeBurr. We've got Mitch Bradshaw. In the 4-1 section, apologies, we have Mitch Bradshaw with his Cruel Boys Big Yellers. Michael Nonamura with his Seraphon Cutlass Claw. That's a Croak Bomb. Dayton O'Bray with his Blades of Khorne with just an absolute ton of bloodletters. Carl Munro with his Soulblight Gravelords. Graham Cox with the Lumineth Realm Lords. And then Jared Bialawas with his Adnet Deepkin. I really like Jared's list, so I think that's the first one I'll look at. He's got Nautilar list with an Achillean King, an Ishran Soulrender, and then an allied, the Light of Altharion, which I think is great in a combat army. That really adds like another kind of combat piece into the list, which is very survivable. I really like that. That's fun. And then the Achillean Leviathan, which is obviously great. +1 save, loads of damage, really tough to get rid of. 30 Namarti Reavers, which I think when you've got a front line of having to deal with an Achillean King, the Light of Altharion, and also a big turtle, I think then the Reavers become this really problematic piece that are also going to be chipping in and doing all the damage. And then a unit of Thralls, a unit of Ishlen Guard, and then a unit of Alapexes. Looks like 2 Sharks in here as well. I think that's really fun. It's really fun. I think there's some really nice problematic pieces that you're throwing at your opponent. And then there's all of that shooting and back support, which I think is really fun as well. Our Big Yellers list had Gobsprak, Snatcher Boss, and Sludgeraker, so 2 of those, 2 Shamans and a Merc Knob, then 30 Gut Rippers and 9 Manskewer Bolt Boys. So instead of splitting up those units into 2 20s or 2 6s for the Manskewer Bolt Boys, it's all about just getting all the buffs on the single one big unit and then slapping some fools, which I think is really, really fun and super interesting. Our Soulblight Gravelords list, our Khorne list, has just got a ton of Bloodletters. This is by Dayton. 30 Bloodletters, 20 Bloodletters, 6 Furies, Riptooth, and then Blood Crushers. I'm sure he's going to talk about it all on his podcast, which is called Party at the All Points, if you want to go check it out. Him, Bud, and his and Tristan will be probably talking about this event at some point. So if you're a Khorne fan, then go listen to that. Then Carl Munro is running his Soulblight Gravelords list, Legion of Blood, with Nephrat, a Vampire Lord, Zombie Dragon, and going back to the beginning, it's got Doom Minions, Cloak of Mist and Shadows. Still just a great loadout. Hasn't changed enough that it's a problem. And don't forget, the hunger is still really, really good. Then Deadwalker zombies, direwolves, more zombies, skeletons, and some fellbats. So it's really that big problematic Vampire Lord Zombie Dragon that's going to be doing most of the work. Our Lumith Realm Lords list has got an Enlightener, a Stone Mage, Severith, a Lore Seeker, the Light of Eltharion again, so hot right now, the Stone Guard, 2 units of 10 Stone Guard, and then the Alarith Spirit of the Mountain. So they're just really tough to get rid of. Great front line, doing lots of work. Good melee coming out of the Stone Guard, Alarith Spirit of the Mountain, and also the Light of Eltharion. And then Severith is mobile, fast, good spell support as well from the Enlightener. Just really solid. Really, really solid. So yeah, looks like a really cool event. Canada, little great scene there. And obviously growing. This is another really big event, 44 players. And I expect to see more and more Canadian events really popping off in the next 12 months. Our next event is the Wheat City Open 2024, organised by Corey Trumbly. Shout out to Corey for running the event. And then it was being held in Brandon, Manitoba, at the Communications Westman Centre, where normally they do horse shows and whatnot. Anyway, we only have one 5 at the event, and that's Yuri Balko. Yuri Balko, 10 out of 10 person. He's a teacher in Winnipeg and teaches high school football. So pretty much the most wholesome round person you can find, or all round, all Canadian star. So shout out to Yuri. Yuri was running Blades of Khorne in his list. He's got Reapers of Vengeance list with a Blood Cicada, Scarbrand, and a Slaughter Priest. And then he's got Bloodthirster and Fet Fury with Firebrand and Halo of Blood. And then 20 Blood Warriors, Fleshhounds, Blood Reavers, and 2 units of Furies. At this point, Khorne is going to do its Khorne things. It's going to have Scarbrand. It's going to have a Bloodthirster and Fet Fury. It's going to have some other unit, 20 Bloodletters, 20 Blood Warriors, something like that. And then a load of other units that can grab objectives, which is good. So congratulations to Yuri for being a superstar. Hashtag Go Wheat Kings. Looking at our 4-1s, we've got Dom Elsom with a Big War, John Kikullen with his Soulblight Gravelords of Vrykros Dynasty, Jason Wells with his Cities of Sigmar Greywater Fastness, and then Cam Tatrin, one of the best people in the Canadian scene, with his Fireslayers Vorstag list, an absolute 11 out of 10. Some people say, as he walks by, puppies weep because he's so beautiful. That's what they say. Okay. So what Dom's Big War has got, let me go find it. Dom Big War has got, no, I'll never find it. He's got an Uruk Weird Knob Shaman, and he's also written notes on his list so his opponents can know what his stuff does, which I think is a really positive step, and I love seeing people do it. Well done to him. He's got an Uruk Weird Knob Shaman, a Wergol Prophet, Care Bear Stare, should be banned, Mega Boss and Maw Crusher, an Uruk War Chanter, another War Chanter, and then Gobsprak as well. So he's really character heavy. A unit of 5 Brutes, another unit of 5 Brutes, a unit of 10 Gut Rippers, and then 6 Brute Ragers in the list as well. And this is kind of an interesting list because it's got lots of support pieces, obviously, but he's got some legit combat threats. Mega Boss and Maw Crusher, obviously, is one of those. Eventually, when you get close enough, you're going to get Wergog Stared. Gobsprak's going to shut down your spells and also provide some good spell casting as well, which I think is really positive. And then the Brutes are fine. They're tough to get rid of. And then the Ragers are going to you're going to be concentrating on everything else. And then 6 Ragers are going to come and absolutely slap your face off, which I think is super cool. Then our Soulblight Gravelords list is just got, it's in Vrykros subfaction, Belladama, Ivia, Necromancer, Vampire Lord, Deadwalker Zombies, Death Rattle Skeletons, Direwolves, Black Knights, big unit of 10, Fellbats, and Varghese. The interesting thing to say about this is I think just recursion is just so effective in Soulblight and will always be. And then our Fireslayers, our Cities of Sigmar list, pretty interesting. It's Greywater Fastness. It's a free guild marshal on Relic Envoy. It's a free guild cavalier marshal. A Fusil Mage on Ogre Warhawk, which I was not expecting. 2 Warforgers, so everyone's get a +1 save. One of them's doing Blizzard. So you're countercharging with the free guild cavalier marshal with your unit, 2 units of free guild cavaliers, but there's 3 units of them, 3 units of 5. Then 20 free guild fusiliers, 2 units of 10 steel helms, and then a great cannon and the command core. So this is a very rounded Cities of Sigmar list with a little bit of shooting and some good fighting in the Cavaliers. I think people normally commit a little bit to one or the other, which I think is interesting. Some choices I've not really seen. Fusil Major on Ogre Warhawk and the Relic Envoy. I like the Free Guild Marshal and Relic Envoy. I think he's effective in game. But seeing that in there, it's 90 points at the end of the day. Makes the Steel Helms potentially really solid on an objective. So that's cool. And then our Fire Slayer list is 4-star with a Runic Auric Runefather on Magmadroth, Runemaster, Battlesmith, the 2 Flamekeepers, so as models die around them, they get buffs that they can apply to other units, a Runesmiter, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 units of 10 Volkite Berserkers. So they're going to die, they're going to rally on 4+s, thanks to the Battlesmith, they're going to yeet in more dudes, they're going to be doing the extra buffs, which I think is fun. And then Vanguard Hunters and Aether Wings, both of which are going to be used for early game battle tactics, for Surround as an example, which I think is fun, especially as they can't do any spells, obviously, because they are, so they won't be able to do magical dominance, and that's a tough one for Fire Slayers at the moment, I think. Super cool list, really fun, looks like a lovely place, looks like a fun group of people, lovely little provincial tournament. Go get to it if you can. Our next event is Fall to Darkness Chapter 2, being held in Essex in the UK at Wayland Games. Looks like a lovely venue to go to, being organised by Jody. Now, some hot info about this event, 28 players, that they had a bingo. They had a bingo. Each round, there was a bunch of different stuff that could happen. And if you did the bingo, you got to bring it up to the table or the TO or something. I think it's fun. So that looks really awesome. I love seeing TOs add a little bit of extra stuff. Absolutely beautiful things. Love the bingo. So congratulations to them. Okay, so let's actually look at who did well. In top place is Mr. The Vibe, Matt Gouldsborough, with fresh off like 19 different wins over the past few months. He was playing Seraphon, Starborn with his Lord Croak, Slan Starmaster, Skink Stars here, Saurus Astroth Bannerbearer, 15 Saurus Guard, 2 lots of twin Skinks, and then Maelstrom, Chronomantic Cogs, and a Bastillodon, which is a new addition that he's thrown in there, as opposed to taking the Command Core, which we have seen him taking the Command Core recently in this list. But it's just a Croak Bomb with 15 Saurus Guard. And also probably needs to paint it a little bit better. But other than that, absolutely great person, great army. In the 4-1 category, we've got Mikey Hurdle with his Lumineth Realm Lords. And he is running Zytrek with an Enlightener, a Cathalar, Severith, Light of Eltharion, a Lore Seeker, great for grabbing objectives. Then 10 Wardens, 5 Blade Lords, and 20 Sentinels. Are Sentinels back? Question mark. A title of my YouTube video. And then Venari Starshard Ballista, and then the Dawn Riders, a unit 5, a unit 5 Wind Chargers as well, Suffocating Gravetide, and Rune of Petrification. This is interesting. I think we're seeing more and more multiple small unit, very big, heavy caster bunkers that we're seeing from LRL, moving away from the big singular techless build. I think it's interesting. Adam Elford has got a super cool list. He's running Soulblight Gravelords, Legion of the Night, but then he's using the Flesh Eater Court's Regiment of Renown from the Mad King Rises book, so book 4, and he's sticking that in. So he's got a Vampire Lord and then King more like Vileman, but then he has Usharan in a list. 20 zombies, 10 direwolves, 2 units of 3 Felbats. Then he's got the Sons of Omen, obviously. Then he's got the 20 Graveguard, 3 Morbeg Knights, and the Crypt Guard. Now, don't forget, and I've done a review on all of the regiments from now, and you can go back and watch. You've just got this unit that's going to smash face in the big in Usharan, but then the Morbeg Knights and the Crypt Guard, when they die, are going to be able to come back to life as well. So you add that onto the recursion or the rezzing and the healing that you're also going to get from Soul Blight, and you are potentially putting 2 units back on the board at this, like 2 different units in 2 different ways at the same time. Very powerful. I think that's very, very interesting. And then Toby Resnick, our resident lore master, is running Cities of Sigmar with Hallowheart, and he's got Zenestra, Steam Tank Commander, an Alchemite Warforger, a Battle Mage on Hurricanum, 2 Steam Tanks, 3 Guild Steel Helms, and then a 3 Guild Command Corps, and a unit of allied Dawn Riders with some Aether Wings, which is very fast. So very interesting ally choices. Also very fun to see Toby moving away from, he was running max Steam Tanks. He's now moving away to having the Hurricanum in the list as well for some mortal wound shooting, which I think is very interesting as well. But it's still 2 Steam Tanks in here as well. So fun. Hope everyone had a great time at Fall to Darkness. Loads of love to everyone at that event. Our next event is Uta Chaos 2.0 being organised in Queensland, Australia, at what looks to be an absolutely delightful venue, Millennium Games and Comics, right next to the Millway Cafe and Bar. Like, honestly, for podcast listeners, you can't see, but I'm describing what looks to be a beautiful strip mall, but looks like a really fun place to hang out, in my personal opinion. So, great little event. Our only 5-0 at the event is Alex Rogers with his Daughters of Cain. And he is running a Calibron subfaction, and he has got Marathi and Gotrek in the same list. Melissa Ironscale is the general, obviously with the 4-up rally. And then a unit of 10 Bloodstalkers, so a unit of 10 Bow Snakes, yeah. Then 10 Witch Elves, another 10 Witch Elves, and then 5 Heart Renders. So it's interesting dropping away from having 2 units of 5 Heart Renders for what feels like easy battle tactics, but 2 very unkillable big characters in Marathi and Gotrek feels like an incredible list. Super fun. Well done, Alex. Our 3-4-1's pretty interesting. Ogre Tribes, being played by Benjamin Sharp, is Boulderhead with a Huskarl and Stonehorn, a Frostlord and Stonehorn, a Butcher, and then 3 Stonehorn Beast Riders. Great on objectives, Blood Vultures, stamp for some fools. Have a great time. Well done to Benjamin Sharp. Adam Wiseman is running a Seraphon Croak Bomb, which is cool, with 10 Saurus Guard, I think, in here, which I think is super interesting. And then Lachlan Hall as running Sylvaneth, my guy again. This time it's different. It's Heartwood, Arch Revenant, Belthanos, and the Lady of Vines, that 5-up ward spell. Much easier to get now, obviously, thanks to Primal Dice. I predicted this was something we would see. We've seen it a few times, but still a rarer pick. Then 2 units of 3 Kurnoth Hunters with Great Swords and a unit of 6 Kurnoth Hunters with Scythes. And then a unit of 3 Revenant Seekers. So I think what's fun about this is you get an addition. You get the ward save from Lady of Vines. You get resin from the Seekers, if I've got that right. And then the Archrev, obviously, you're going to get the buff from him all around. And then Belthanos is making that whole army much faster, and is also itself a legit threat. So it's just a really fun list. Really cool. Hope everyone had fun at the event. Let's move on. Our next event is the Peski Hammer 3 being held in Slovenia. This is Slovenia's 3rd event that they've held for Age of Sigmar, and it's the biggest one they've had so far, which is awesome. So shout out to everyone in the Slovenian community. They had 22 players playing at their event. Now, something pretty cool about this event, well, several cool things. Number 1, it was being held in the dungeon of a castle. So if you're watching this on YouTube, if you listen to the podcast, you can't see, but there's the picture. And then we have been sent a bunch of photos of the event, which is cool. It's in this kind of underground cellar-looking place, which is very fun. Looks very relaxed, very chill. So absolutely love that, which is cool. And that's not enough. As if this wasn't enough, they have made a trailer, a narrative trailer, an audio, like it's a 5.5-minute video of a trailer for the event with like the backstory of why they're battling over what's happening in the event, which is fun. So they've added a background narrative to all of it, which is just cool. So a really, really fun event. Right, let's go look at the players. Oh, and last bit, it was organised by someone in the chat. I did have it up. I forgot but it was organised by someone, which is important. I've messed that bit up. Yikes. Anyway, let's go look at the players. It was organised by Nino. That's who it was organised by. Shout out to Nino. Organising events is the toughest bit. You're doing the great service for your community. Well done. In the 5-0 section of this event, we have one beautiful man, Boris Belik. Boris is just a wonderful dude, and he was running a Seraphon Starborn list with Lord Croak, Slan Starmaster. Now, the change is interesting here because they've changed the command trait from having the Lord of Celestial Resonance to Arcane Might instead. I think we might see that being a little bit more common now. Saurus Astaroth Manabearer Skink Starseer, Saurus Guard, Skinks, and big unit of Saurus Guard, I think a unit 15. And then the kind of interesting bit about this list, I think, and it is worth talking about, is 170 points spent on endless spells, which are all very effective. Ravanax Gnashing Jaws, a bunch of mortal wounds. Quicksilver Swords, loads of more mortal wounds. And then Aether Void Pendulum for even more mortal wounds. There's a lot of mortal wound damage, as well as obviously the Croak Bomb doing the additional damage as well. In our 4-1s, we have 3 players. We have Andrei Bunchak, Timon Grabovac, and Enes Humik running his Soulblight Gravelords. So if we take a look at the 4-1 list, the Cities of Sigmar being played by Andrei Bujak is... Didn't get that right. A Misthaven list, and he's got a Battle Mage on Griffin. He's got a Talia Vedra. He's got Battle Mage, Free-Guild Cavalier Marshal, Free-Guild Marshal on Griffin. And then he's got 10 Cavaliers and 2 units of 5 Cavaliers and the Command Corps. Now, on paper, it might not seem like a lot, but the Cavaliers can do a ton of damage, especially thanks to countercharge and also being able to get that additional rend when they do so, which I think is good. They also get an additional attack. They also, if Talia is in combat, she's going to be able to rally them on 4+s, which is legit good. Like, really, really good. Free-Guild Marshal on Cavalier, he's going to give them that countercharge with +3 inches to their range as well, which is really, really decent. You got that Strike First, and there's 2 of those in here. So I think this is very, very solid. And it's quite interesting. No guns. You've also still stealing CP from the Command Corps, and I would say that this is going to be very popular, so I like that a lot as well. On Overlord's list is Barak Nar, Navigator, Brock, Engine Master, 9 Engine Riggers, 2 Arcanaut Company in a frigate and a gun hauler, and then Gotrek. So that frigate is going to be very tough to get rid of. You basically have to one-shot it, otherwise those Engine Riggers are going to bring it back to life. Gotrek in the list, Engine Riggers doing some solid combat as well, just very, very solid. And then finally, our Soulblight Gravelords list is Legion of the Night, Vampire Lord and Zombie Dragon, Manfred, Vampire Lord, 30 skeletons, 60 zombies, 10 direwolves as well. So, very cool. It's nice to see, on meta lists at an event from a smaller community while still having their own flavour and their own style. Very much same as that kind of rural event that we saw in Canada. Great to see a community growing. Lovely to see things like photos being taken, trailers being made. Hope everyone in that community is doing really well. Loads of love to all of you. Our next event is the South Coast AOS Singles, although not to be confused with the South Coast GT, which happens in the summer. This is a different South Coast event. So this was being held in England, and we had 20 players playing at this event, and the event was run by Hazel Moon, who's in the chat with her Ogre Moortribes Boulderhead. She has been ripping it up on the scene recently with all these Boulderheads, with a Huskarl on Stonehorn, a Tyrant, a Frostlord on Stonehorn, and then 3 Stonehorn Beast Riders in the list. Congratulations to her. Absolutely brilliant. All the damage, all the time. In the 4-1 category, we have 2 absolute treasures. Dom Stonebridge. What a babe. And the fantastic, very tall, but very lovely, Sebastian Del Monte. And then Stormcast Eternal is being played by Dom with Storm, and he has got, and again, another feature. He's got Hammers of Sigmar, Stormcast Eternals, Knight Incanter, Karazai, Ionis Cryptborn, Knight Relictor, and the Light of Altharion is again an ally all the time. It's happening so much. Ionis obviously really good as well. And then Karazai. So Karazai featuring again 2 units of Vanquishers, Dragothian Guard Fulminators, and the Quest to Soulsworn. Look, it's all popping off in Stormcast Town. So many different units making it through. And then we got a big war list being run by Seb, Killer Boss and Great Nashtooth, 2 War Chanters, a Wargol Prophet and a Shaman, ban the Chanter, 10 R-Boys, 10 R-Boys, and then 10 Gut Rippers, and then 6 Gore Grunters, and 3 more Gore Grunters. And the hot pick here is a unit of 2 more Grunter Gougers. So this is a big pig on the table here, which I think is really interesting. Being able to have countercharge in the list, or no, sorry, strikes last in the list, with all that other combat makes a lot of sense. Congratulations to the double destruction in the top 3, and then Dom just being great. Our next event takes us over to Denmark for the Age of Sigmar Midcon GT, organised by Morten Bali Poulsen. A shout out to Morten, he's a great person. And it's being held here at the Monsted Kultschatz. The Monsted Kultschatz is where it was being held. Anyway, there were 18 players playing at this event, and our only 5-0 was Kasper Karlmus, who's a great person, a really good person. And he's playing Stormcast Eternals again, and they're back again. Celestin Prime, Ionis Cryptborn, Garda Steel Soul, Knight Valexa, Severith, 5 Liberators, 2 Vindicators, 5 Vanguard Hunters, 2 Tempesters, and the Comet, which is wild. So Celestin Prime, AoE mortal wound damage. Ionis with the ability to stop healing. I think I once said in a previous video to stop wards, but it stops healing is what I should say. Guard of Steel Soul with a 5-up ward save. Valexa with the AoE mortal wound damage. Severith as an ally. Lumineth just the best allies apparently at the moment. And then the Tempesters, which are also super popular as well. So Stormcast still in the game. In the 4-1 category, we got Yannick Teague with his Nighthaunt, Scarlet Doom, and then Soren Anton Mikkelsen with his Gloomspite Gits. Congrats to both of those. Soren didn't submit his list, but Yannick did submit his list, and the Nighthaunt list is Scarlet Doom, Torghast Cruciator, Guardian of Souls, Spirit Torment, and 2 Dreadblade Harrows, and then 60 Bladegeist Revenants in 3 units of 20, and 3 Spirit Hosts with the Chronomantic Cogs and the Chain Ghasts, a unit of Chain Ghasts as well. This is super interesting because of, I think the reroll charges come from Cogs is, I think, maybe the spiciest run out here. I think that's very clever. I love seeing that. Dreadblade Harrows, obviously combined really nicely with the rest of the list. The Spirit Host for the units, really good. Lots of range now. Obviously, since the FAQ, we've had that uptick in the effectiveness of Bladegeist Revenants because they've got the 2-inch range, which is cool. And Soran, although we are getting some information, even though we don't get Soran's list, he was running Spiderfang with all the big spiders, and he went 4-1, which is super fun. Okay, so I love that. So anyway, shout out to everyone in Denmark. Just a really, really fantastic group of people. I can't express that enough. I know that I say that about most communities, but these are just great people. If you get the chance to go to one of their events in the future, you should go. Great people. You'll learn a lot as well. They play Warhammer really well. Great little community, so go check it out. Our last event is the Goblinhammer Open UK March. We had 16 players playing at this event, which is cool, and the event was won by the lovely and the irrepressibly lovely Baz Norman Jr. with his Caradron Overlords, and he was running an Arcanaut Admiral, an Aetheric Navigator, an Endrin Master with Endrin Harness. And then he was running 2 units of 300 riggers, units 600 riggers, all in an Arcanaut frigate. Sorry, in 2 Arcanaut frigates, and then Gotrek is in the list as well. And this is a really great list because it really combines the version of KO that I really like, which is the Arcanaut frigates, along with the Endrin riggers that do so much healing to keep them going, which seems to make a lot more sense than just having 15 dudes in a boat, which don't heal them, although you can take Endrin riggers as well. And then Gotrek as well, which is good for pushing units off objectives, being an incredibly tough thing to deal with, and still being a dwarf, which is kind of important. So well done to Baz. Baz, I think this is Baz's second 5-0 in recent memory, and he should be super chuffed with that. So that's really good for him. Baz has been putting in a ton of work over the past few years to really up his level of play. So well done to Baz. In our 2-4-1s, we've got Jack Higgs with his Slaves to Darkness and Laura Bates with her Sons of Behemoth. I just want to take a quick moment as well to shout out Jack Williams in 4th place with the Flesh Eater Course in the 3-2. But I think Jack's 16, 17, so still one of the younger players in the scene, and just a real lovely bloke. So great to see him out there performing really well. Yeah, 16, I think. Anyway, but well done to Jack, which is great. Okay, so Jack Higgs, though, with his Slaves to Darkness, great list. Legion of the First Prince, Be'lakor Eternus, Chaos Sorcerer Lord, another Chaos Sorcerer Lord, and then Exalted Hero of Chaos, Then 20 Chaos Warriors with a Mark and Nurgle, which I love. I think that's a great list with the Eroding Icon. That's a ton of wounds to shift. Then 5 Chaos Knights, and then 10 Chaos Chosen with the Mark of Chaos Undivided, which I think is really fun. So one of the things I like about this list as well is because sure, Be'lakor is going to be shutting down units, but that is just an incredible brick of units, models to get rid of out of the Nurgle Chaos Warriors. It's too big to deal with. It's probably too much of a faff to deal with, especially when you've got Be'lakor shutting down some of your key pieces. Then Chaos Knights are going to be able to charge, move, block, Furies for grabbing objectives, Chosen for fighting. I think it's a great list. The Sons of Behemoth list is a King Broad Stomp list. Like I've said before, if you just want to go 3-2 at any event, get yourself a King Broads list and go have fun. However, Laura did even better with her list, and she went 4-1, so well done to her. King Broad, Gatebreaker, War Stomper, 4 Man-Crusher Gargants, just having the best time. What a superstar. Well done to Laura. And like I said, well done to Jack in the 3-2 as well. Okay, so a very, very interesting week. Stormcast Eternals kind of seem to be the thing that I would like to focus on. I'd say Lumineth Realm Lords allies, Stormcast Eternals with loads of different ways of playing. Karazai's featuring quite a lot. We're seeing Gardas start to uptick as well. We're seeing a ton of the Quest of Soulsworn running around. I think that is very interesting. We came off a week where we saw a bunch of new Nighthaunt being used, and we've only seen it the one time now. Croak is in his ascendancy. As we said previously, as soon as we saw the OCR Bone Reapers go away, and we've read one Bone Reaper list out of all of these events over the course of the weekend, we see Croak absolutely everywhere. However, if it's not a dead frog, it's also a big body, and Ogres are also featuring pretty heavily in the game as well at the minute, which I think is interesting. I think that's very interesting as well. Corner's still really good, obviously, and I think that's going to continue unless we see any actual changes. Flesh Eater Courts finally hit the scene, though, and I think we're going to keep seeing that more and more. We've seen Regiments of Renown. I think that's quite interesting as well, being mixed in, and we might see more of those Death Regiments of Renown as we start to see them put on the table. And I think the list building that we're seeing in the game is far more interesting, because there's loads of little units that can get added to other units that are really trying to change stuff up, which I like a lot as well. Anyway, great week. Loads of events. Love seeing some of those smaller communities, like we did with Slovenia, but we got Denmark in there as well, Australia. Loads of cool stuff. Hope you enjoyed it. Thanks very much for listening. Have an absolutely great week. And if you play an event next weekend or the weekends to come, good luck, and you have a great time.